Hi, I'm Pete, and welcome to Just a Few Acres Farm. It's pretty cold out here, about 20 degrees Fahrenheit, about an inch of snow on the ground, a little bit of wind. Patty doesn't care, she just keeps feeding her face. Right on cue. Actually, the cold doesn't bother cattle very much at all. They'll stand out here on the coldest days. They have access to the barn, but they're all standing out here. Behind Mount Pooh here, you can see our existing pig barn. It's that green part. It's 24 foot by 24 foot. Hi, JJ. Hi, Bossy Pig. Brownie's keeping warm in the corner. And Billy, well, he's just Billy. My favorite guy. That's right. I built this barn in 2015 because we wanted to start farrowing pigs, and having raised pigs outdoors in the winter on pasture, before that I knew I did not want to farrow piglets in our climate in the winter on pasture. In fact, I don't want to keep any pigs out on pasture when the weather's like this. That's why we grow our winter batches in the other end of the barn here. This is an extension to our cattle barn. When I built it with its 4 pens, I thought it was perfect for keeping our breeding pigs. The thing with breeding pigs is you want to keep the sows and the boar separate so you can control when they breed. And this whole setup makes it easy to move stock around back and forth. There's a couple outdoor runs for them to get outside when it's warmer out. But some problems happened after we built this, and deficiencies became apparent. This is at the inside end of our barn, and to get manure out of here, we've got to load it in a wheelbarrow and run it outside and around the corner to the manure pile, and the floors don't slope enough to drain properly. They do have some slope, but not enough to drain properly. There's no place for the liquid to go when it drains, and it's dark in here. I like raising animals with lots of natural light. Hey guys, you look warm and snuggled today. I mentioned a few videos ago that their hay bomb was about to topple. Well, it toppled. It toppled on Friday, February 24th, whoever had that date in the lottery. After years raising stock in that other pig barn, I started to think about building a new facility. And at the same time, our profit on pigs that we grow out for market has been going down. Since feed's been going up, pigs eat so much grain, our profit's been going way down to the point now where we offer pork almost as a service to our customers or as an upsell to buy other things, because we make very little, if any, money on it after our expenses are figured in, and our labor especially. So I thought about getting into a different sort of pig operation. The lifeblood of our farm, the profit's always been in selling products that few others offered. Birds growing on pasture for meat and for eggs, cattle that are 100% grass-fed in a breed that is not common, Dexters. But the pigs never really fit into that very well. They were kind of mutts, and it was hard to differentiate ourselves in the marketplace. So I thought, given all these things thrown together, why not fit pigs into the character of the rest of our operation and sell high-quality stock as feeder piglets? That's 6 to 8 week-old piglets, freshly weaned off their mom. Sell them to others to grow out. That way we could avoid all that expense in feed, make our profit back fairly quickly. And the edge that we would have is by offering purebred or simple crossbred stock off of really good breeding stock. Breeds like Tamworth, Berkshire, and Duroc crosses, and giving people a trusted source for very high quality stock to grow out themselves. There's some feeder stock around here that you can come into at certain times of the year, but the quality is really hit or miss. We want to be a trusted source for good quality. Top quality, in fact. This new business venture gave me a reason to build an upgraded and expanded pig breeding and farrowing facility. And I thought I had a good site for such a facility right out here. There's probably an acre of lots out here that we use to pasture pigs in the summertime. And it works well, space-wise, for some pig pastures for sows and boars and our facility. And for the facility itself, I had visited another farm about an hour and a half west of here that had a really nice 30-foot by 40-foot coverall that I was very impressed with. I'll show you a picture of it. It had lots of natural light. It had ample space for the piglets. It had nicely sloped concrete floors, good piglet warming. I thought that's the way to go. I was an architect for 20 years, so I'm too familiar with the building process. And the building process and design process doesn't start with drawing anything. It starts with text and conversation. So the thing I started with was writing down the qualities that I wanted for our pig farrowing facility. And these are the ones I came up with. We need to have fresh water without a mess. That was tops on my mind because it was summertime and pigs make a mess in the water and then the water gets dirty. So fresh water without a mess, that includes in freezing weather. So the solution isn't as simple as piping in nipple drinkers or any of that, because we're dealing with freezing conditions here for half the year. Second, it needed good drainage in the pens. Didn't want any water standing in the pens or urine. Needs to have good facilities for grain feeding without the pigs spilling the grain onto the floor and all that kind of mess. Needed warmth for piglets. It's a farrowing facility. Needed good quarters to warm piglets in their first few weeks. Easy cleaning. We've been through that many times, Hillary and I, cleaning out the pens at least once a week. It needed to have a place to put the boars and the sows when they're not breeding or farrowing. So right now our boars and sows stay in the barn and they have a couple outdoor runs in the summer. I want to have a way to release all the sows outside that are not either breeding or farrowing, just bringing them into the pens for those two things. I wanted a good quality of life for the pigs, and that to me means lots of fresh air and lots of sunlight. Important for any animal in my book. And I wanted them to have the ability to express their pigness, to be able to root in the ground when the ground's not frozen, and to be able to wallow in the summertime to cool off in pools of water. And I want to be able to keep the sows and the boars from fighting, which you may think is an odd thing, but if you have pigs of different sizes, they can be brutal to each other. So it needed to have a mechanism for sorting animals of size and gender. My program for that building, and you can think of program as a list of spaces with sizes and uses assigned to the spaces, was to have at least 3 farrowing stalls where the moms would spend 6 to 8 weeks having their piglets and then nursing their piglets. You could have more sows than 3, but any 3 at one time would be in there doing their thing. And then you need a breeding stall, which could be one of the 3 stalls, but that'll reduce your capacity. You need a breeding stall for the sow and the boar, or a place outside where you can isolate the sow and the boar. You need a place to put the sows outside with an indoor run for inclement weather. And you need a place to put the boars separate, outside run with an indoor for inclement weather. And the layout of almost any pig farrowing facility you see will be just like this. Pens on both sides with an aisle in the middle, because it makes it easy to move the pigs around. You can open gates and bring them down the aisle and into other pens. So the basic layout was like this, except we wanted to have a wider aisle so that we could bring a tractor with a bucket loader down it, pitch the pens right into the bucket loader, and drive it out instead of the wheelbarrow. The next step from having a program is to start to put pencil to paper, and I started thinking first, I guess, because it's a farm building, what kind of construction I wanted. And I had first assumed that coverall. Coverall was the way to go. Coverall is cheap. I could buy a 40 by 40 coverall kit. I think they were around $8,000. Then I would probably pay somebody to put in a concrete slab underneath with a trench drain outside of the pens with a pretty good slope from inside the pens to the trench drain to drain any liquid off the pens. Overhead doors in both ends. And I'd probably get away with a building like that for maybe $20,000 with some of my own work. But problems became apparent in that type of building the more I thought about it. First is, it's a limited lifespan building. It's nice around here because I don't get taxed on it because it's not a permanent structure. But that's also a drawback. The warranties on the fabric range from any place, any duration you want probably, but 15 years is about the maximum. These are not like old greenhouses or kit buildings you buy for cheap at an auction. These are pretty well built coveralls with heavy fabric on them, heavy plastic, vinyl, whatever it is, fabric, but still the lifespan is limited. The other drawback to a coverall building is in its adaptability. It has pipes going every 4 foot, 6 foot, however, whatever the spacing is, and that's all you got to hang off if you want to put something on the ceiling. So when it comes to putting in overhead doors, you either need to think about a roll-up door at the ends, or you need to really plan how you're going to hang your overhead door in from both sides. It can be done, but as I thought about it, flexibility is limited. You can't put doors on the sides of the building where the fabric comes down unless you build a knee wall, and then you can put short doors for the pigs inside. And it just started to get really complicated. So I started to think about a different building type. Pole barn, that's what I want. Pole barn with at least 12 foot clear on the inside. Laid it out with the pens on both sides. Pens at least 10 foot coming in on each side with an aisle that's at least 12 foot in the middle to get a tractor up and down. Overhead doors at both ends. Doors in the sides from each pen so we can let the sows in and out of their yard, and bores on the other side so you can let them in and out on their yard. Total size, 32 to 40 foot wide by about 60 foot long. Total cost, in my guess, 100 grand. Come here, Ezra. I know you want attention when it's cold out. 100 grand total cost. Okay, let's plug that into our equations. How much am I going to make off of a batch of feeder pigs? Well, high quality stock, premium price, $150 a piglet. Maybe not. Maybe. I don't know. Say 10 piglets a litter. That's $1,500 gross coming in per litter. Let's assume half of that goes to expenses. Feed, cost of growing out sows, cost of feeding sows, cost of growing out and keeping boars, labor costs. Okay, that means I'm profiting 75 bucks a piglet, or $750 per batch. How many litters of piglets do I need to grow and sell to pay for that building? The answer is 67 litters, which is 10 sows producing 2 litters per year of 10 piglets for a little over 3 years to break even on the facility. No profit until then. If we keep 5 sows, it doubles to about 7 years. And you may say, well, that's not bad. And I'll remind you that planning a farm on paper is not a very good thing to do. You start small and you feel it out. And remember, my scenario was based on perfect market conditions, being able to sell high quality piglets for $150 each and having enough of a market to sell that many in a year. 10 sows times 2 litters times 10 piglets is 200 piglets a year at $150. Is my math right there? You can check me if it's not. What if something happens to one of the sows? What if I have light litters? What if I have only 1 piglet in a litter? How long does my payback period get drawn out? If I were starting small with 3 or 4 sows, then I'd be better off. And if I could find a way to put less financial risk into the venture, that would be even better. So let's start smaller and figure out what we can do. Is there something more in keeping with the low overhead way that our farms always operated, where we can feel out of business, test the profit before sinking a lot of money into it? And I realized, and Hillary too, this pole barn that my dad built is 80 foot long and 36 foot deep. 16 foot high at the front, 10 or 12 foot high at the back, I forget. It's got 1 bay for feeding hay and junk, cattle bay, second cattle bay, another bay for feeding hay and junk, and a bay for winter pigs. Yes, this is your bay, isn't it, guys? What are you doing? What if we could greatly improve our pig breeding facility without building a new building? Speaking as a former architect, the best building you can build is the one you don't build. It's the one you got. This bay at the south end of the barn here is 16 foot side to side and 48 feet front to back. The cattle use about half of that depth for hay feeding. This area right here, and not the full 16 foot width. This area in the back with all the junk in it is 16 foot wide and comes out 16 to 20 foot this way before we need it for hay. It's got water right there. It's got electricity right there. A pen for a brood pig for a farrowing sow needs to be at least 10 by 10. Ours back there are 12 by 12. Tons of room for a sow to move around in and have her piglets in. If we line pens along this wall, we can put 1, 2, 3 sow pens in here. We've got a generous aisle here to bring the tractor right in, clean out the pens. I got lots of light coming into this. I got lots of fresh air, which is so important for help keeping pens dry. Just ventilation, that's all you need. And I've got access to that existing back pig area, so we can utilize that too. Since we're now immediately adjacent to this existing pig barn with our new pens, we can reconfigure or repurpose this and make it better for what we want to do. And remember, one of the big things to me was being able to get ventilation into here, which means openings on the side here for through ventilation, and also allowing the sows and the boars to be outside when they're not breeding or farrowing. It happens to be there's pasture right outside that wall. There's a small pasture right outside that wall. That one could make a nice big area for sows with a run-in into part of this barn, so they have their choice to go inside or go outside and root or wallow. Boars separated on this side so we don't get breeding when we don't want to. And out here we have the complete flexibility to build the pens exactly the way we want them. Put in concrete floors at the pens, slope them to drain properly, put in warming areas for the piglets. All those things that I had on in my head for feeding, watering, and drainage can be accomplished in this wide open bay. I just got to move all this junk. It also gives us a good reason to care for what we have, this barn. We've done a little care on it where we had a rotted post, and I got videos about that, replacing the rotted post, but it needs other work. Come on, Ezra. Come on up. Here. Come here. Oh. I founded this channel on providing sound business advice for aspiring farmers, and this is an excellent case study of it. Getting into a new market, you need to feel your way in and minimize your overhead until your proof of concept is proven. It'll be exciting to have an expanded pig operation. It doesn't need to be all flash and new materials. It's just thinking about what the pigs need and providing it for them and seeing how sales go. No, I hope this video is informative. This is planning I wish that I did more when I planned as an architect. I wish that I had told more clients that you really don't need a new building. You just need to utilize what you have better. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Ezra, you got to get down. You don't want to leave me when it's cold out, do you? I think I can find a warm home for you in the garage, though, in my shop. The heat's on. All right, let's go. You can ride up here.